Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, this is yours truly, the one and only D Hicks, hashtag the professional SGL, coming at you real quick for a public service announcement. So, I'm looking at the calendar for the month of September, man, and look, the TPSGL is going to be busy. All right. So, this week I got to travel to San Antonio. Um, and for the month of September, NCOPD Live is booked every Wednesday. So I'm sitting, I'm thinking, and I'm talking to some of the advisors today, and I'm like, okay, hey, I haven't discussed anything about suicide awareness. And we all know that this is Suicide Awareness Prevention Month for the month of September. So this was the only time that would probably be befitting for the TPSGL to come on and talk to you all about a couple of things I want to talk to you all about tonight, since the remaining of the month is already, pretty much booked. I just got done talking with Wednesday night's special guest, Command Sergeant Major Jimmy L. Rush. Listen, man, oh my God. I think me and Sergeant Major Rush was on backstage for about almost an hour. So I'm looking forward to Wednesday night. Make sure you mark your calendars. Make sure you join and tune in. Command Sergeant Major Jimmy L. Rush is going to be in the building, and I'm telling y'all, we just had a phenomenal discussion. I'm super excited about the things that we're going to talk about, so make sure you check that out. 14th, 15th, and 16th, JBSA, San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston, the TPSGL is on the way. I'm coming. I will be there. My travel day is the 14th, 15th. I'll be there at the event that I'm going to be at. I'm super excited to meet the Sharp team. I'm hearing they're doing phenomenal things there. So I'm going to be in the building. All right. So you got one day and one night only to catch the TPSGL. All right. So I'm gonna drive up on the 14th. I'm gonna, probably spend some time with my daughter. She's up there, so I get a chance to see her. 15th, I'm gonna be on Fort Sam Houston, and then that morning of the 16th, I'm gonna come back and head back to the Houston area and take care of some things, get ready for the weekend. So here's what I want to talk to y'all about tonight. First and foremost, we all know what this day is, 9/11. All right. This was the reason why the TPSGL joined the military, was because of 9/11. But I wanted to get on tonight to commemorate those individuals that lost their lives. And I think sometimes we take for granted the precious gift of life that we have every day. We go about our daily, routines, and it's almost like we just do it as it's the normal thing to do. But it just goes to show that at the blink of an eye, the very life that we have can be snatched from us. And those individuals went to work that day with the normalcy of going to work and thinking that they were going to go back home and be with their loved ones, and at the snap of a finger or the blink of an eye, like I stated earlier, this precious thing that we call life was snatched from them. And driving into work today and seeing all the flags flown at half staff, like it's a humbling experience, because it just made me realize today. Well, I'm not going to say it made me realize today, but it reinforced this thing called life that we take for granted, that we just so cautiously feel that it's owed to us. And those individuals that died on that day, they were doing their normal daily routine. It's not that they were stopped and gunned down by gunfire from random bullets, or from police brutality, or they weren't at a store where they was just normally shopping. They were at their place of business. They were at their place of employment, and suddenly their lives were snatched before them. And some of them had the opportunity to call home and say their final goodbyes to their family. And so tonight, I want us to look at, evaluate the lives that we live. What are you doing with the life that you have? Who are you inspiring with the life that you have? What difference are you trying to make with the life that you have? Because when it's gone, there's nothing else that you can do about it. And sometimes we go through life just living life meaningless. We're just going through the motions. And I don't want y'all to think that the TPSGL is just ranting and raving. No, I need y'all to really understand this, because it's good to commemorate and remember 9/11, but you never know when your day is going to be, your expiration date is. And my grandfather used to say this, may he rest in peace. My grandfather would say, every year has its number. It has a number. And that year is not going to be complete until that number has taken account. We all owe God, or whatever it is that you believe in, but we all owe God a death. One day our lives are going to expire. And I want you all to remember that life is so precious that you have to do everything that you can every day that you have, that you wake up in the morning. The not so great beer one said all the time, the good Lord woke you up this morning. Don't you dare let the day tackle you. You go out there and you tackle the day. Put your best foot forward every day, every opportunity that you get, because you never know when it's your last time. You never know when you walk out that door in the morning time, whether you're going to make it back home to your family, whether you're going to make it back home to your kids. Like I said, those individuals left that morning as business as usual and figured that they were going to make it back home, but they didn't. They had to call their families from a burning building that was just waiting to crumble down on them. And I don't want us to miss out on what today really means. Those individuals paid a sacrifice that they didn't have to pay. They hadn't did anybody wrong. I'm pretty sure they probably had faults in their life, but they paid a sacrifice that we get to sit back and honor and cherish their memories. But we don't have a missing seat at the dinner table. We don't have a missing seat where that was their favorite spot on the couch, or that was their favorite spot, in the bedroom, laying in the bed. We don't have that. And I just want to caution us tonight, as we remember and we reflect on 9/11, understand that the life that you have is precious. It's very, very precious. And you should every day strive to make an impact with the life that you have, whether that's in yourself, whether that's in the people that you work with, whether that's the people that you lead. You should always strive to do something meaningful with your life. And sometimes it's not always about you. So as we remember those that, in that tragic day, it was a tragic day for America. But not only that, it was tragic for those homes that those over 3,000 something Americans weren't able to go back to. So I just hope and pray that we all take this in and really hear what I'm saying, and really, really look at the life that we live and understand how precious it is to have this thing called life. The next thing I want to talk about is suicide awareness. And I think at the end of the day, we all know someone that may have struggled with suicide ideations, or we may have struggled with it ourselves, or we sat in some type of training as it relates to suicide. The one thing I want to point out as it relates to suicide is we all know about suicide when someone takes their lives. But what do we think about emotional suicide that we don't see on the inside of individuals that may be struggling with something? People deal with emotional suicide all the time. And it's not something that we talk about. I haven't seen it much in training, if I haven't seen it at all. But I want to focus on emotional suicide that people, you know, daily they struggle with this. And this is the sounding of the alarm to all leaders. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what the color of your skin is. I don't care what your religious beliefs is. At the end of the day, most people that are thinking about attempting or committing suicide, they show warning signs. They show these red flags that they're dealing with something. When we've become too normalized that we can't recognize the warning signs or the cry for help, we've already lost the battle, and that person is still walking around. They haven't attempted or committed the actual act yet. But when we become normalized to society, or we tell them, oh, toughen up, you'll get over it, oh, soldier on, or oh, don't worry about that, you'll get over that. When we get to a point like that, we've already lost the battle. And what I want to sound the alarm on to leaders and just people in general, you have to be mindful of what those warning signs look like. You have to be engaged with the people that you work with, or the soldiers that you lead, or the people that work in your section. You have to be engaged to know that when they come around, something is off about them. And then me and the special guest was talking tonight and ask the question, but wait for the response. Whatever that response looks like, whatever that response may be, you have to be willing to sit there and wait on that response, and be willing to sit there and listen to what that individual has to tell you. Because most people that wants to attempt or commit suicide, they're looking for a way out. They've gotten to that part where they feel that what they're wanting to do is the only way out. But you can't be so normalized to where we turn a blind eye to those warning signs. It's more than the notion of just to say that September, a couple of weeks in the month of September, is set aside for suicide awareness or suicide prevention. This is something we have to do every day. And just imagine the amount of veterans that we lose all the time due to suicide. But even those that are still serving, active duty, National Guard, reservists, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guardsmen, you name it, Space Force. We lose so many people in our ranks due to suicide. But not only just losing them to suicide, they exhibited some patterns that were not normal, and individuals may have seen it, but turned a blind eye. I've told this story on several occasions, and that's one of the reasons why I felt like I needed to come on and make time for the month of September to talk about suicide awareness. My roommate stationed in Iraq, and I say his name, Specialist John F. Fish. My roommate told me in Iraq that he was going to kill himself. I'll never forget it. But Specialist Fish was a different beast. Like he was a loner, stayed to himself. Nobody wanted to hang around him. Listen to all of these warning signs, y'all. He was a loner. Nobody wanted to hang around him. He stayed to himself. He didn't speak much. He exhibited all of these signs that something could have potentially been wrong with him. But even when that wasn't enough, that I saw the warning signs, the ultimate warning sign is that he told me out of his own mouth in our room in Iraq that he was going to kill himself. Just like I'm looking at y'all, he looked me square in my face and told me that he was going to kill himself. And I'll never forget it. I was getting ready to go to the MWR. I had just got off. I had just showered and changed. I was getting ready to go to the MWR, meet my friends. And I was like, what? I said, man, and I'll never forget, man, I ain't got time for this. I ain't got time for this, bro. I'm about to go. I left, didn't think twice about it. I remember coming back late that night, coming back in the chew, and Specialist Fish was sound asleep in his bunk. And I remember, man, I was coming in trying not to make that much noise. And, you know, back in the day, you know, you had the flashlight and you cut the light on and get on your side of the chew and make sure you ain't making no noise because I didn't want to wake him up because he worked in the S3 shop. So I came back and I was like, man, I knew this dude wasn't going to kill himself, man. He almost made me late to go hang out with my friends. Boom. Got back in my chew. I laid down. And for some reason, I just couldn't go back to sleep. Couldn't go back to sleep. I was like, nah, man, I'm good. Like, man, you good. You good, Hicks. You good. I ended up finally dozing off, going to sleep. That next morning, I jumped out of my bed and I walked on the other side of the wall lockers to see if Specialist Fish was there. He was gone. I was like, man. So I was like, man, this guy kill himself. So I'm hurry up. I'm getting dressed. I know I got to meet Sergeant Major to go drive him to go get chow. I walked in the battalion, spoke to Sergeant Major. First place I went to was the S3 shop. Specialist Fish was in there doing his job. RTO. I was like, all right, man. Yeah, he good. He good. He good. Fast forward, we redeployed back home. We reset. And a couple of years later, we was getting ready to go back out on our second deployment. And we had to go to White Sands, New Mexico. I'll never forget it. We had to go to White Sands, New Mexico. Now, mind y'all, remember, about two and a half years ago, this guy told me he was going to kill himself. He exhibited all of the signs, all of the warning signs of what someone that is thinking about suicide would look like. He exhibited all of these signs. 2.5 years later, passed by, we have to go to White Sands, New Mexico for training. And Specialist Fish hadn't killed himself yet. I'm like, man, I more than likely, I'm not going to lie, I probably had done forgot about it. And one night around like after the second, I don't know how long we were there, but one night I woke up in the middle of the night and I was going to the latrine. And we were in an open bay and directly in an angle across from my bed, across the way, was Specialist Fish. So I woke up, I stretched, I yawned, I opened my eyes, and he had his flashlight on the bunk above him, and he was writing in a book. And I went to the latrine, came back, got back in the rack, went right back to sleep. Didn't think nothing of it, because that was typical Specialist Fish. Like, he would be up in the middle of the night, he would be writing, or he would be reading. That was just his MO. Went back to sleep. That next morning, woke up, did personal hygiene, go to formation. They called one person out of ranks. So they're like, who out of ranks? So they're like, Specialist Fish. Now, mind y'all, it ain't dawned on me that 2.5 years ago that this soldier told me he was going to kill himself. It hadn't dawned on me yet. So they're like, hey, somebody go and, you know, look in the latrine. And I think they sent me back to go look in the barracks. And I was like, yo, I seen him in the middle of the night. So I think I went back in the barracks. He wasn't in there. He wasn't in the latrine. He wasn't in the MWR. So, you know, things are starting to get a little antsy because the outpost that we were on was only so big. You couldn't go too many places. So we walking around the outpost looking for specialist fish, nothing. Then I'll never forget. I remember when it went local, then it went nationally, and it was all over the news. The CNN, NBC trucks and everything had pulled up. They was telling us, you know, if we're approached by reporters, you know, they was prepping us on what we were supposed or what we needed to say. And I remember we were outside of the wire of the outpost, and we were hands across the desert looking for specialist fish. Keep in mind, it hadn't dawned on me 2.5 years ago that this soldier looked me in my eyes and told me that he was going to kill himself. And after hours of searching, I'll never forget when we got the call to call the search off. And when we got back to the outpost and we got back in the wire, they told us that they found specialist fish up in one of the mountains. He had took a round from the AHA because he was a ammo specialist handler. That was his job. I think it's 89 Bravo. He had took a round, and his weapon, his primary weapon, was the 249 saw. That was his weapon. He had took a round from the AHA and loaded his weapon, loaded that saw, and put it right here, and he shot himself. When they told us what happened, I got a chill in my body because then I remembered 2.5 years ago that this soldier told me that he was going to kill himself. And he exhibited all of the warning signs of what that would look like. And then the ultimate warning sign is that he told me to my face. And I have to deal with that every day, that someone lost a brother, someone lost an uncle, someone lost a cousin, someone lost a son, because I failed to adhere to the warning signs about someone that was dealing with suicide. This systemic issue, suicide, doesn't care about what your color is. It don't care about where you're from. It don't care about what your race. It doesn't care about whether you're male or female. Suicide is real. And those individuals that deal with suicide, in their mind, that is their only option for taking the pain away. But I want to caution us leaders tonight that when we see these warning signs, we have to speak up. Don't be afraid to say something. Don't be afraid to ask those questions, because those individuals are crying out for help. And had I listened to specialist fish, had I adhered to the warning signs, and had I listened when he told me out of his own mouth that he was going to kill himself, it's very well possible that specialist fish could have been here today, and he could have had a family and moved on, had children or whatever. But to hear that and not do anything about it, that's a burden that nobody wants to carry. So I caution all leaders tonight, not just for the month of September, not just because the Army tells us that this is the time that we're supposed to set aside and look, and talk about, suicide awareness and suicide prevention, not just for this month, because suicide is so big that you can't put it in 1 month. You can't put it in a box because it's too big. Whenever you see someone that looks like they're acting out of character, that they're not themselves, or they may just come straight up and tell you, hey, I'm thinking about killing myself. Or they may tell you, like John Fish told me, I'm going to kill myself. Don't take that as that's just what that person is saying right now. No, you got to act on it right then and there. You got to do something about it right then and there, because that individual is crying out for help. And you never know, you could be the very thing, the difference maker between that person living and that person taking their lives. That's how serious we have to take this. Not just for the month of training or the month that we bring awareness to it. No, we have to do this consistently. This is 365 days, 366 when there's a leap year. You have to do this consistently. We got to get out of this, oh, this is the month that we're going to look at it. And this is not a bash to any unit, but we know that there are some people out there. And then there's going to be some units that's going to give this check the block training. Hey, we're going to go through these slides and, you know, make sure everybody sign a sign-in roster that gets jacked up before it even gets to the back, because one person gives it to their friend and throw the whole, I'm just ad-libbing, but it happens. We're going to get up there. We're going to give this check the block training. Not going to really sit and have the intimate and deep conversations about the things that we see or that we struggle with on a daily basis, because we don't want to be looked at as if we're weak or as if that we are going to be laughed at because of the status quo. It's time out for that. Make your training realistic. Have those hard conversations. You know what would be good, effective training? Have somebody that's actually dealt with or contemplated suicide. Turn the slides off. Have someone that's willing to share their story. Come here, Command Sergeant Major Monday. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Have somebody that's willing to share their story, to sit up there and tell them the things that they was going through, and imagine the impact of lives that we can change. Because there's someone that could be sitting in that audience and they are thinking that this is the last thing I got. This is the last resort. But you're going through and clicking the slides, making sure everybody sign your sign-in roster so you can get back out and go do whatever it is that you're doing. And nothing was done for that individual to help them get out of the situation that they're in. Emotional suicide is real, and people deal with it on a daily basis. Make sure you're engaged. Make sure you're checking on your soldiers. Make sure you're addressing these warning signs and these red flags when you see it. Make your training meaningful. Make it relevant. Change the narrative. We're so robotic in the Army, and then we're so reactive when things happen. Change it up. It doesn't have to always be a slideshow. Hey, I know we're supposed to get some slides here, but guess what? We're going to turn the slides off today. Hey, what are you dealing with in life? You know, and sometimes they may need to see you as the leader open up first in order for them to open up and say what they need to say. But this clickbait training, this check the block training, just doing it just to check the block, just so our numbers can look good, the metrics can look good. We owe America's sons and daughters better than that. The most precious gift you can have as a leader is when you can lead America's sons and daughters. I don't care what rank you make, SEAC, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, top Marine general, whatever, command star major, combatant command, whatever you make. I don't care what position you hold. The most precious gift that you can have as a leader is to lead America's sons and daughters. And just think about when you take this uniform off, and if one of your children decide to join the Army, would you want them to have a leader like you? That when they're going through something, that you are not sensitive to the fact that that individual is crying out for help. Would you want your child or your grandchild to have a leader like you that turns a blind eye when they're going through something? We got to stop this. We all can come together across the globe, across our formations, and we can tackle this issue, disease, whatever you want to call it, called suicide. And even our veterans out there, we got to reach out to our veterans to make sure that they're doing okay. It's easy to pick the phone up. So that's my message for tonight. I knew, with the whole month of September going on, and y'all know me, I normally don't like to get on cameras other than just Wednesday, but I think I'm gonna start coming on more, just probably make a sacrifice to come on more and interact with you all other than just on Wednesdays. It may be taxing on the TPSGL, but guess what? At the end of the day, sometimes it's needed, and you just got to move when the spirit moves you. So I appreciate y'all letting me in your homes tonight. Again, Wednesday. Oh my God, y'all are not gonna want to miss Command Sergeant Major Jimmy L. Rush out of Fort Cavazos, Texas. Listen, when I tell y'all this leader is phenomenal, and I say this all the time, but it's some people that you come across that you just glean from them. Don't miss Wednesday night, 1800 Central Standard Time, 1900 Eastern Standard Time. The one and only Command Sergeant Major Jimmy L. Rush, 2395 Dakota 7. It's going to be in the building, Fort Cavazos, Texas. I'm looking forward to the discussion. Like I said, remember 9/11, and don't just let suicide prevention be for the month of September. It is an everyday fight that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So y'all know the motto. Hey, if you see something wrong and you fail to do something about it, then you have just created a new standard. And at the end of the day, their issue is never with you, but their issue is with the standard. This has been yours truly, the one and only D Hicks, hashtag D Professional SGL. I will see you all on Wednesday night. Y'all have a good night. Peace.